It is now up to the Senate after the House passed that bill yesterday that would increase coronavirus relief checks to $2,000 for certain Americans. And 44 Republicans, along with the vast majority of Democrats, approved the legislation, 275 to 134, narrowly reaching the two-thirds majority that the bill needed to pass. And this legislation would increase those $600 direct payments to $2,000 for Americans who earned less than $75,000 last year. And Senate Minority Leader Schumer says that he is going to try to pass this bill by unanimous consent today. But at this point, it's unclear whether Republicans, Senate Republicans, are going to get on board with the measure. And McConnell has declined to publicly address, as of yet, how he plans to handle the issue. At least one Senate Republican, Marco Rubio, has voiced support for the increased payments, tweeting last night, "I'm concerned about the debt, but working families have been hurt badly by the pandemic, and this is why I supported $600 direct payments to working families. And if given the chance, we'll vote to increase the amount." And Peter Baker, this puts Republicans in something of a bind. And, you know, Bernie Sanders may try to force the issue, force McConnell to hold a vote on this by threatening to hold up the defense bill. But the Wall Street Journal editorial page is out this morning saying President Trump has helped out Chuck Schumer in all of this. It's Republicans. It's just making it so clear that it's Republicans standing in the way of this very popular proposal to send Americans more money.
Well, that's exactly right. It's forcing Republicans, of course, to either abandon the position that they've taken for months or abandon the president who just lost an election and yet still has the loudest bullhorn in American politics. And I think what we're seeing here actually in some ways is a preview of the post-presidency, right? You've got a situation where the Republicans can make a deal with the president and suddenly the president blows it up. In this case, it happens to be the president is Trump. What's going to happen when the president is Biden and Mitch McConnell and Joe Biden come to a deal on something, whether to keep the government going, whether it be a future COVID relief bill, they pass it with bipartisan majorities, and then suddenly you get the former president, what will be the former president at that point, weighing in and forcing his own party once again to either to take on the base that this former president, who will be former president, still has great command over, or to go along with some sort of a bipartisan deal. It's a really, really interesting test for Republicans at this point. Are they willing at this point to defy this president on the way out the door who lost an election, one-term loser? Or, are they still, enthralled to the base that he commands and are going to, follow his directions, a base that may or may not actually support the proposal he's making, but is very popular, obviously, with many Americans who are hurting and who could use the money in this tough time.
Annan, you are really terrific at sort of pulling back to 30,000 feet and giving us the bigger picture. Obviously, there's no question that $2,000 is better than $600. Most Americans, when given the choice, would prefer the $2,000 rather than the $600. But shouldn't we, I believe you've argued this, be talking about bigger things? Shouldn't there be bigger measures here? Don't Americans need more right now? Should we be having a different conversation in terms of what the government can do to offer relief, to offer stimulus, to offer help to Americans who are suffering in this historic pandemic with economic devastation?
That's a great question. And in a way, the argument about the 2,000 is the beginning of that bigger conversation. For 40 years on these issues of government spending to help people, we've actually witnessed a Republican Party in lockstep against it and a Democratic Party that is often split. And what is fascinating about this moment is it's the Republicans who are split. And I think what the significance of that to me in terms of that larger conversation is, I think we are listening to the death knell of the age of austerity. For 40 years, we have been told since Reagan that the best government does the least, that people are best left to themselves, that government is the problem. And that ideology has been a defining ideology in American life. Bill Clinton and Barack Obama lived under it, even if they chafed at it as much as Republican presidents who lived under it. And that consensus has not held up well, actually, for years, with widening inequality and a climate crisis and many other crises in this country. But this year, it's been undeniable, unignorable, that intellectual consensus, political consensus of the last 40 years to minimize government, promote austerity, is a fraudulent consensus.
Thanks for checking out MSNBC on YouTube, and make sure you subscribe to stay up to date on the day's biggest stories. And you can click on any of the videos around us to watch more from Morning Joe and MSNBC. Thanks so much for watching.